Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at my team building guide for ABC, ABB and ABA team. I see a lot of confusion about those kind of terms in general, and so we're going to take a look at this today. We're going to build 3 teams here and we're going to test them out in the Go Battle League as well. They're going to be timestamps for the stuff that you don't want to see, so definitely make sure to use them and we can move right on. Of course, if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe and leave a like. Also, this is going to be a guide that's going to be most likely viable throughout Go Battle League for whenever you want to use it. It's always going to be the same. It's been the same for like 4 years now, so like this is definitely going to be something that is also still relevant in like 3 months. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want more. So in general here, why do we have like 3 letters there? Basically it's counting the positions of Pokemon. For example, the first slot is the lead, the second slot is the say stop, and the third slot is the closer. So for example, the A in this case is going to be the lead, the B is going to be the say stop, and the C is going to be the closer. Still doesn't really show you what ABC really means. Here, of course, on the right side, you can see here as well that PvPoke has performance stats, where Pokemon are also gonna get, kind of performing ratings for something like the lead, like the switch, or the closer, which is kind of exactly what this is kind of about. But basically, what does this really mean is that ABC are Pokemon that have all kind of different abilities. So you don't really have like very similar Pokemon. They're all working well together, but they are not really directly the same type of Pokemon in them. But ABB and ABA are with that, of course, a little bit different. For example, ABB, you're going to have a very similar backline. So you're going to have, for example, 2 water-type Pokemon in the back, which we see quite often, which is a very common thing as well. And ABA means you can have either the same weakness as with your lead as well as your closer, or you have like very similar matchups in general. So like they can be from the same typing, could be like 2 fighting-type Pokemon, could be also a dragon-type Pokemon and a fighting-type Pokemon in the back, sharing a weakness to fairy-type Pokemon. Stuff like this would be an ABA-style team, and we can move on for a little bit more in-depth stuff for those as well. And of course, we want to move on as well during those kind of times to check out PvPoke and see how to build those teams, and then we're going to take a look at some gameplay as well. We're just going to do 1 battle for each kind of variant where we don't cut anything out. It's just 1 battle directly with a new team that I haven't played before, so we're going to see how to play those teams. First one, ABC. This is going to be the most balanced one of them all, which does not mean that it's going to be better than the others. Balance doesn't mean better. Balance just means it's going to be kind of more neutral in most scenarios. So, for example, what you're going to see also with other ones, for the ABB style one, if you lose the lead, you're going to have a little bit of a tough matchup against a lot of different kind of Pokemon in the back, because they again are similar in the backline. But here, you're going to have quite a very neutral matchups, basically against any kind of Pokemon that you're going to encounter, because you have like very unique type of Pokemon that don't really share like those weaknesses, but they still cannot go well to each other. So we're gonna build a team with that as well now soon. But first off, of course, A should cover all weaknesses of C. So what this means is here for A, for example, it should cover all the weaknesses for C. That means like your lead should cover all the weaknesses of the closer, but they are like different type of Pokemon. C, like the closer, is supposed to cover all the weaknesses of A, your lead as well. So basically they're a perfect core together, and basically the B, which is in the middle, is just going to be the say swap here, which is going to be good against whatever A doesn't want to face. So if you lose the lead, that you're still going to have something that can cover it quite, but it doesn't have to be like insanely hard counter to those either. So like it's just going to be like a say swap that has a very good neutral matchups against a lot of Pokemon and is not too overpowering in general. We're going to take a look at a team now, which you can use as well. Not too sure how good it's going to be because I haven't used it for 2 months, but let's take a look at building those teams. So trying to build an ABC style team, there are like different kind of options to go about it. Usually you kind of want to pick a Pokemon that you face like here, kind of on the leaderboards or whatever on the rankings for PvPoke, and usually you can just pick one of them, and PvPoke gives you quite decent answers already on what is good to use with them. For example, here we're going to go for the Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp is going to have some core weaknesses here, like the Annihilate, like the Cresselia, Azumarill, Whiscash not so much, but these are basically the main 3 Pokemon that you kind of want to face or like kind of want to beat with it as well. And so you need something that can deal with especially those Pokemon here as a say swap first, where it's kind of neutral, and in the back also a Pokemon that kind of wants to beat those Pokemon here. For example, here we can scroll down a little bit further, and what we're gonna see here is that PvPoke gives us quite a lot of intel already. And here, for this Pokemon, for example, it's also kind of want to choose it because it was kind of easy. We can see here already some very good Pokemon that you can pair it with, and you kind of want to see here if maybe this can work out for you. What I would actually recommend you to go for is definitely something like a Cresselia in the back. Usually I think the first one is like the Pokemon that fits the best for what PvPoke says. It's not always going to be, by the way, perfect what PvPoke suggests you here, but it's a great start of like team building or in general trying to find the Pokemon that you want to face or like want to use with your Pokemon itself. And as you can see here, we're going to have Cresselia, but what we're also going to see here, we have different kind of options that we also can use. And as Cresselia is going to be our closer because it's like the one that's fitting the most, of course against other Cresselias it's kind of neutral, but against the rest, against Annihilate you're going to be good against the Azumarill you're going to be good with Grass Knot, against Whiscash you're going to be good, against the Dragonite you're going to still win as well, especially if you run Moonblast, which I usually do as well with Cresselia. So like this is going to be basically a perfect fit, and now we need a Say Swap. And now you have like different kind of options here as well. You can of course go more in depth and like try to find out as well here other Pokemon that could work out, which you can do here on the team building tab. If you're gonna go down here, PvPoke suggests you even more stuff in the potential threats, and then you're gonna have some potential Pokemon as alternatives. Here we see also Cresselia basically as the best fit towards this Pokemon, but what you also see here are some other Pokemon, and if you find like a Pokemon here as well that you think is, okay, this might be a good Say Swap, for example, Sableye, but then again, you would be weak to Fairy-type Pokemon, so this doesn't work out, then you can still try to add it. A Pokemon that I'm going to choose here for today is going to be Lickitung. Lickitung is kind of fitting everything that you kind of want to have here. The worst possible lead that you can encounter with this team would be Annihilate. Annihilate can still deal at least some damage with the Lickitung, as Lick is going to be super effective and Power Whip does some damage as well. So Cresselia in the back going to be great against most of the Pokemon here, and also again the Lickitung is going to be kind of a completely different type of Pokemon, and also still coverage with the Power Whip against Azumarill as well as Whiscash, which is again like something that at least Machamp doesn't always want to face. Also, one thing that you kind of want to consider is Machamp is a very squishy Pokemon, so you kind of want to have some bulk on the team, so you can use your shields freely on the Machamp to get the most out of those kind of Pokemon, to have some other Pokemon to absorb the damage. Having something like a team combo with that is kind of important. There are kind of things that you can do on PvPoke towards it as well, which you can take a look here as well real quick. I'm usually running rather the move Moonblast, but here Future Sight would also be totally okay, by the way, maybe even better. But as you're gonna see here right now, we're gonna see that this is basically a perfect team against Cresselia. Normal Cresselia can also kind of withstand it a little bit. Medicham might be a little bit of a tricky one, doesn't exist in the meta right now. Gligar can be dealt with basically both of the Pokemon in the back still. So it's going to be basically a perfect Pokemon. It's going to be basically a perfect team, that's what I want to say. But as you can see here, there are some kind of overview that you can get for the teams. As you can see, we have like good consistency, good safety, and good bulk, which is kind of what you kind of want to have. Coverage could be a little bit better, it says here, I guess because we're going to have double coverage for like grass type moves, which is kind of maybe annoying for this kind of system. Honestly, I wouldn't take a look at overview too much, like it can be also a little bit, I don't know, not showcasing the true potential of a team. I usually don't really look at this kind of graph, but it is there if you're kind of interested in it, of course. But here, for example, this would be a good team, so let's give it a try. Taking a look here at the first battle that we're going to have here, it's going to be, of course, with the Machamp tier ABC. We're going to have the Elite against a Dugong Dwarfs, and so we kind of see already the opponent has a Say Swap that we can completely hardwall. This is kind of what we mean. You have Elite that's going to be weak against something, and you're going to have the Closer here that's going to be the perfect fit for it. But also, we're still going to have our Say Swap here of Lickitung, which is supposed to help us out hopefully later on against a Pokemon like the Dugong, where we still have coverage against, which is also going to be the Pokemon that we're going to be great for either a champ, but maybe there's a Pokemon in the back where Lickitung is just going to be neutral against. It's basically already one from the Lickitung. So here, Icy Wind is coming through. We're going to be able to take it. We can swap out here into our Machamp. I leave the shield for the Lickitung just in case. And let's see what the opponent's going to have in the back. Is going to be a Gligar. And look at this. No matter what the opponent really wants to do here, we're going to have a hard, not a hard counter, but like a very neutral Pokemon with the Lickitung. So basically, you have the perfect core of the lead of Machamp, the Cresselia in the back, and the Lickitung as your Say Swap. If you have a bad lead, swap into Lickitung. If the opponent swaps into a hard answer to your own lead, you usually can go into the Cresselia to completely counter it. That's kind of how ABC works. You kind of try to have something neutral as a Say Swap and a great core in the lead and the closer. So this is going to be an easy game, and we can move right into the next type, which is ABB. As they're going to be able to knock them out here. Sorry, it takes quite much longer than I expected. But yeah, the opponent didn't give up, so let's move on. Taking a look now at the ABB style. It's going to be the unbalanced style here as well as the ABA style is also kind of unbalanced. But here we're going to have basically a very similar backline. We see this quite often in Go Battle League, and there is in every kind of meta a lot of very good ABB style teams, and you see them all the time basically. One of the most common ones, for example, in the Master League would be the Ho-Oh double dragon line, been around for ages, and that makes a lot of sense. You're going to have Ho-Oh that is going to be weak against water as well as electric type Pokemon. Dragon type Pokemon going to resist this, while Dragon type Pokemon might not want to encounter Steel type Pokemon, which Ho-Oh really likes to encounter, or even Fairy type Pokemon where Fairy type moves are going to be resisted on the Ho-Oh. So it's a very good core. And what you also see kind of on this example is that you would have a say-swap there of Dialga that has great coverage against one of the types that you kind of want to beat with your A, which you see here as well. For example, again, Fairy type Pokemon, going to be not really wanting to encounter the Ho-Oh. So Dialga would have Iron Head for this as a coverage move as your say-swap to bait them out but still punish them, and that's kind of what you want to have. For example, here you have two Bs in the back, so two Pokemon that have basically the same typing or like very similar weaknesses in general. And the first B is going to be a say-swap that wants to have coverage against whatever the other B is going to be weak to and whatever basically A is supposed to counter. For example, here, of course, Master League is kind of a good example for this, with Ho-Oh being decent against Fairy type Pokemon and Dialga having coverage for them. But otherwise, let's take a look at a team that we can build towards that as well for the Open Great League, and let's move on to that. So let's try to go ahead and try to build an ABB style team. Here we're gonna see some Pokemon that are going to be decent, but what is kind of easy about the ABB style, it's kind of easy to build. We can just go ahead and take a look at the best swap. I would just go by the swap first, because the swap is the most important thing of the ABB style team. Because the swap is supposed to bait out whatever you want to use in the back, while still being able to punish it. So you need something that is kind of good, has great coverage, and has good usage in the meta itself. And here we're going to have, for example, the Feraligatr. Why not use Feraligatr then? Feraligatr is a good Pokemon to use. I'm kind of curious what we can use that has Ice Beam as well. And also we can see what you can use in the back as well. We can go, for example, here for Closer and see what is kind of decent as a Closer right now that is also type Water, which would be kind of important for it. And we see, for example, Azumarill could work out quite well for that, or the Whiscash or anything like this, kind of what you want to use in the back anyway. But yeah, what would you really want to see in the lead here as a Pokemon? To see this is kind of what you want to do, is you just want to try to see what you're struggling against. If you struggle against certain Pokemon, you kind of want to beat them with a lead that you have, right? So for example, here a Lantern would be one of the ones that you see already that would be really difficult. For example, Skarmory you can still beat in the 2 shields. Cresselia would be an easy target as well still. So we can go on PvPoke and we can actually do something kind of like reverse engineering. We want to find a Pokemon that beats Lantern. We want to see and find a Pokemon that beats something like a Vigoroth, something like maybe a Lickitung, stuff like this. And we can see what the system just gonna give us, all those Pokemon that you kind of don't want to face, for example, or something superior. Stuff like this, and see what the system is gonna give us here as Pokemon that beat this kind of team. And as you're gonna see, we have a lot of Dragon type Pokemon. Here's what we kind of expected as well. So we could go ahead and go for something like a Dragalge, which would work out quite well as well, which might be an interesting Pokemon. Maybe we're just gonna go with Dragalge. Hakomo does make a lot of sense, but as I played the Dragalge before, like I played the Hakomo before, I kind of interested in the Dragalge, so let's take a look at what Dragalge can do for us and see how this is going to go. Dragalge is going to be a Pokemon that I actually have not played for quite a long time, so let's see what's going to be your weaknesses that you kind of want to beat. You're going to be weak against something like a Skarmory, which you kind of want to beat as well. And so let's see what we can use in the back here. Registeel would make sense, but Lantern makes a lot of sense. Lantern is a part water type as well, so let's see how this team going to go, and let's try it in a battle. Let's take a look at the gameplay for the ABB line. We see as well they swapped the lead around, and we have a hard wall. We are not running the other Pokemon that we just had before, because it was weak as well against the Whiscash, and so I didn't really want to have double weakness against Whiscash, so it is better to go for either the Gustload or the Hakomo in the lead instead, both of which are going to be fine. But here we kind of see what we want to do. We have a lead which was really bad for us, so we were able to swap out now into our Feraligatr, which was able to get a shield advantage already, was able to, okay, the shield advantage we kind of lost immediately after the Ice Punch, but we were able to get a debuff here onto the opponent, which is kind of nice. And now what we can do is we can take advantage of the situation. We're going to be able to get out the Lantern here, getting an entire farm down, which is really important for us. And let's see what they're going to go into. They're going to decide to go back into their Sand Sash. So the lead that was really bad for us, we're going to see it here again, and we can do a ton of damage against them with the Thunderbolt. So that means they're weak to Lantern. And so I try to catch a move here. Hopefully it's going to be a Drill, which is not super effective. It's just neutral. It is, and it's going to be a Mandibus in the back. And so while we had a horrible lead here, we were still able to come back. Mandibus has nowhere to go. Mandibus cannot do anything against me at all here, as they're going to still have in the back, of course, the Lantern, which is going to have a great matchup here. They can still try their best, but Gustle is going to be better here anyway. But yeah, again, like the Dragalge I think I had in there before is not really ideal, because you always kind of have to see the bigger picture, and here the bigger picture is that you're going to have a double weakness to ground, which you don't want to have. You can use basically any other dragon, but that's going to be it for this one. Moving on to the final type here, it's going to be the ABA style. This is going to be something that you see quite often actually in high up elo ranges as well. Like I see it quite a lot of times in like the top tier leaderboards where people play this, but I feel like it is a little bit less common this season compared to the other seasons, but still a very interesting type of playing the game. Basically, what you want to have is a perfect core between the A in the back and the B in the back. So what you kind of want to have in the lead is a Pokemon that is very good, especially in the two-shield scenario against most of the meta, because the idea behind it is that you're going to have a perfect core in the back, and you're going to have a lead that's going to be able to just align yourself. And a lot of times the lead and also the Pokemon in the back, your closer usually has a common weakness. There are quite a lot of teams that use something like a Shadow Dragonair in the lead and a Medicham in the back in the days, for example. And those are going to have, of course, a common weakness of Fairy type. And it's still going to be an ABA style team there, because it's ABA weak against Fairy type Pokemon. If you have, for example, then the last Pokemon would be something like a Bastiodon, which would allow you to have a perfect core between the Medicham as well as the Bastiodon, while having the Dragonair in the lead, which has to stay in against Fairy type Pokemon, which is not really ideal for you, but can beat basically everything else. And you kind of try to align yourself with this type of team. So let's take a look at an ABA style team as well, and this is going to be it for this one. Building an ABA style team is going to be a little bit more tricky in my opinion in this kind of meta. I actually played something kind of similar to ABA recently with my Registeel team. If you have not seen this yet, you can check it out on my channel, but it was not really quite this, so let's take a look at potential options that we can go for. For example, Annihilate is a great Pokemon to have on the back. You can go for a great core with it. You basically, what you kind of want to look for right now is a Pokemon that is great in the lead, that is going to be especially good in the two-shield scenario, that has good coverage, that is going to be able to, yeah, beat quite a lot of Pokemon there. And then we're going to see that you have a perfect core in the back of an A and a B, so like Pokemon that perfectly fit to each other, and see if we can try to align our Pokemon accordingly so we can make those shine. So, what is the most common core right now, which is going to be also the best core that everybody is using? It is, of course, Skarmory plus the Whiscash. This is basically a perfect core right now that literally has been everywhere, but usually you play it with like a ABB style type of line. Here Annihilate might be a little bit of an issue, but maybe we can find a water type in the lead that is not going to completely die against any kind of Lantern leads, that still going to have some potential here. So here we're going to see some options of what PvPoke suggests us, but PvPoke never suggests us something in the ABA style, so like we cannot really take those Pokemon here at all, because they're not really fitting towards the style we kind of want to look for. So we can either go for like something that is kind of like Steel type, like the Skarmory we would stay in, or if we want to go for something that is more like the Whiscash. And so let's take a look here real quick at what Pokemon we could choose for this. And we're gonna see here, for example, Pokemon that are going to be great as swaps are usually great in the lead as well for those type of teams, because you can align yourselves a little bit easier. So Gligar would be an option, would make a lot of sense to be fair, because you're going to have both of the typings of the back included into this Pokemon. So why not try it out, right? Because actually this Pokemon doesn't have any of the weaknesses that our backline has, so that's most likely why. So other Pokemon that we could use is Poliwrath, would make some sense as well, but I'm a little bit too scared with the current issue against Annihilate, so why not just use the first Pokemon that we have here again with the Shell of Alligator and see how this is gonna go. Final segment of this video today is going to be the final battle, and we're gonna go up against the Algorithm 69420. What a name, and we gonna get Algorithm. So this is going to be the ABA style line, so with this very bad lead because our fast move is going to be resisted. We kind of want to still stay in. We can get a shield advantage no matter what here anyway, so that's going to be kind of great. But yeah, because we have a very bad lead, we kind of want to stay in here. We want to align our core later on, and so I'm going to be able to swap into the Skarmory now, align ourselves here, have already one advantage, which can be really crucial later on, as well as I'm gonna get some energy advantage now, which also can really be nice for us later. We saw a water gun variant of Lantern there in the back, which is going to be great for our Whiscash, but also a Charger Bug. So Whiscash now going to have to deal with 2 Pokemon, but we were lucky because we have 2 shields and the opponent only had 1 shield. We sadly didn't get the debuff here, which would have allowed us to keep basically, yeah, the shield here for later on, but I'm rather gonna go ahead and overfarm by quite a bit, go for another Scald, hope for the debuff onto the opponent, and it's still going to be a little tricky because it's going to be the water gun variant, which does a little bit more damage later on against our Whiscash. But as you're gonna see, we can take this move, we can overfarm by quite a bit, and so we are able to align ourselves here. Even though we lost the lead pretty hard there, we were still going to be able to come back from this pretty bad matchup. As we're gonna see here, we can hit one more Mud Bomb, and so they're going to be in range for our Skarmory. And that's going to be it also for this video. If this helped you, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see more type of content, which is more like explanatory on how to do stuff in PvP, then feel free to let me know in the comment section what you want to see. But that's going to be it for this one. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.